What is going on, folks? Welcome back to another ride with me to the gym. Today is a Sunday and it's a full body day. I'm going to talk to you about today is training with an injury. So, front of mind for me, because as of a couple of days ago, so today's a Sunday, I believe it was morning, Friday morning, noticed just a decent amount of stiffness and tightness in my upper right trap, or my trap area specifically on the right side. Noticed that it was difficult to very comfortably turn my head over to the right, and that happened Friday morning, or that was noticed Friday morning. So I've been working through it over the past couple of days. So what I've done is went through with my workout as planned on Friday. Actually, Friday was a full body day, but biased towards mostly upper body. So I did have some overhead pressing and some rowing. Those things were slightly uncomfortable, but not too bad. In hindsight, full transparency, in hindsight, I should have adjusted Friday's workout more than I did. I thought I was doing enough by adjusting the intensity just a bit and taking some additional time as I was warming up to address that specific area, and then felt like it was getting better. But Friday evening, after spending a decent amount of time sitting in the car and traveling, realized probably should have dialed it back much more. So lesson learned. Saturday, which was yesterday, went with my planned cardio day, which was a decent amount of zone 2 on the bike. I think it was like 45 minutes on the bike. So didn't really do much upper body wise other than a few minutes of working through some mobility and range of motion type stuff. So pretty much laid off it. I would say that if the pain and discomfort, if we were rating those on a scale of 1 to 10, when I woke up Friday morning, it was at about an 8. And I would say that yesterday, throughout the day, I would have rated it as somewhere between a strong 6 to a weak 7. And today, on Sunday, I would say that we are somewhere in probably I'd say a solid 5 is where we are right now. So about a solid 5 out of 10 in terms of now it's discomfort. So not as much pain, but discomfort. Noticing that, again, when I try to turn my head, it doesn't, it's not happening as easily as usual. So as I'm pulling in here, let me chat with you for a few minutes just around training with an injury, now that I've just basically complained about what I've got going on. With training through an injury, there's a few different ways to go about it. One of the things that I first start off with is not assuming that just because there's some sort of an injury or discomfort, I mean, there's different levels to this, that means immediately we don't address or we don't do anything in that particular area of the body. So in my case, I've got something that's going on that's primarily going to be related to my upper body. That doesn't mean that for me that I'm going to immediately eliminate anything that happens upper body wise. What I am going to do, and in fact what I'm going into the gym to do right now, although today is primarily a lower body day, I have some upper body exercises. In fact, I have some Arnold presses that I will typically do in this workout. What I'm going to do, instead of trying to load those Arnold presses anywhere near heavy, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get some very light dumbbells, and I'm talking 5 pounds dumbbells, and really just focus on working through that range of motion. So I'm going to work through that. And then as I'm doing my lower body movements, during my rest periods with my lower body movements, I'll be doing some mobility things too, just to continue to work that area and not have it stay completely stagnant. So my point of view for myself when it comes to working through periods of discomfort like I am right now is not to completely eliminate it unless it's something that I believe has happened through overuse, or it's a legit, like there's a break or some sort of a really intense sprain or something along those lines. Like if I've been directed, hey, don't do anything that's going to engage that particular area, then yeah, I'm all about it. But this is not that, just based on what that progression has been over the last few days. So something that I focus on is continuing to try to do what I can with that particular area in more of a restorative way, and still remind that particular muscle group or that specific pattern, like, hey, you're still, like, I still need you, and also it's not like we need to load it super heavy at all. In order to maintain where we want to be. So just wanted to share that with you. That's just my point of view, or my share with you on how I will sometimes navigate through periods of discomfort and things like that. Haven't quite put the nail on the head as far as what exactly caused it. However, something else that's really helpful, and I'll end this in a minute, something that's really helpful is that because I am pretty much a creature of habit, and also with the programs that I do and also the programs that I write, I will repeat those workouts. So if there's something like this that happens and I'm going to start with my training, I can identify, yeah, there was, in fact, this is the thought process I was going through. I'm like, yeah, there was that one movement where I felt like that first set, I didn't have the cable set exactly where I wanted it to be. It was a rotational movement. And I felt like I had set the cable a bit too low and also started my first set a bit too heavy. And didn't feel anything totally off at the time. I could just tell at the time that I wasn't getting the engagement where I wanted to. It was actually happening a bit more in my upper back and close to my neck, and that wasn't the intention of the movement. So on the second and third set, I adjusted that cable a bit higher and also lowered that weight just a bit. And it just goes to show, if that contributed to it, that's something where I lost my train of thought. That was just, for me, it just went to show that just because something may have triggered it in that moment doesn't mean that I would feel it in that moment. It wasn't until the next day. Maybe it was also a contribution through different things that I did during the day on Thursday, particular ways I moved my body, certain things I carried and whatnot, that also contributed to kind of that process that had already started. So, all right, we got to get in the gym and we got to go lift. So hopefully this was helpful for you to just hear my point of view, my perspective on how I'm working my way through injury, discomfort, pain, things like that. Medical or disclaimer, this is not specific medical or fitness advice for how you handle your situation. So just because you related to something here doesn't mean that's exactly how you should do it. This is a perspective that I'm sharing with you on how I do it, and take that information and do with it what you will. At the end of the day, you make the decisions for yourself. All right, let's go lift.